Hey everybody, Cotton here. Just to let y'all know that in this episode we had some pretty major technical issues with Discord, so about halfway through we had to switch to Zoom. Uh, it's not that bad, it's pretty seamless, so thank you for listening and enjoy the show. So, what's up, everybody?
Well,
I'm just sitting
chilling.
here. Yeah.
There's a protest out in my house. Took me an hour to get home. Holy smokes. It is happening in Chicago, man. They are shutting the streets down.
Sounds like a good time.
Absolutely wild out here.
Yeah, has that been pretty impactful in general? Just like day
Definitely,
to day life?
definitely sad because my neighborhood is almost entirely boarded up. They broke like every single piece of glass on the main like strip that goes through my neighborhood. So it's
Damn,
it's really sad, man.
that sucks.
Yeah, because I
But,
mean, there's obviously a lot that needs to be talked about,
yeah.
and instead everybody's just talking about the looting and the destruction, and there's actually no conversation about what the protest is even about.
Yeah, like initially I was thinking, like what a lot of libertarians were thinking was just distance yourselves from the rioters, but continue protesting. At this point, just with all the craziness, like I agree with Dave Smith that just says, end it.
Yeah.
Stop protesting because you're not going to be able to disassociate yourselves with the rioters. So it's just not doing any good. Just stop it.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, I'll go ahead, Zero.
No, I was just saying I listened to that. I think it's two. He had two episodes like that, but really just the one. But yeah, he kind of brought me over.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say anecdotally, speaking to boomers in my day-to-day, work and stuff, that's what people are associating. They're associating the violence, the destruction with the message, and they actually have no idea what the whole protest is about. People are like, "Oh, it's just an excuse to loot." If you ask, these old people that I know, so the message is being lost as a result. So Dave Smith might be onto something.
Yeah, and I mean, like even I, like that's kind of what my focus has been on is like all the looting. Because like I'm not gonna like sit there and go through all these posts and like listen to some speech that someone's giving. I'm just going to be watching the videos of people beating up old people and breaking windows and stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's for this conversation, let's save that for the after hours Patreon only episode. Hint, hint, wink, wink to everybody listening. Um, but let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand, which is crowd-funded government.
That's right. Yeah, so we got Theodore on, and he's the foremost advocate of crowd-funded government.
Worldwide, I cannot find a single person who is pushing the idea harder than I am. So thank you, Cotton Zero, for inviting me. Absolute pleasure.
We're glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, man.
So I think the first question that I kind of wanted to go with was, can you give us like your 3 minute elevator pitch?
Sure. So the idea behind a crowdfunded government is that there is a current system in which there is a tremendous problem, and that is the system of how we pay for government. So as it is right now, you get a gun in your face, you got to pay your taxes. You got no option, and you also don't have any choice as to where that money goes. So I have a modest proposal to you all. And obviously there's some nuance and some ifs, ands, or buts. But the bottom line is, I'm a believer that if you take the system we have now with government, elections, etc., okay, we'll set that aside. We have that. Why is it that I have to be forced to pay for government programs? If a government program is a good idea, people would pay for it voluntarily. That's how the market works. So I'm a believer that we should reduce and eventually eliminate all involuntary taxation, whether it's property, income, sales, fees, all these different things that you're charged for by the government, they should all be voluntarily funded. And so that is how the name crowd-funded government has come about. So I am trying to push this idea, and to you guys, hopefully, we can start to poke some holes in it and see what we think.
So that being the case, you said eventually you want taxation to be voluntary, right?
Yeah, you may notice I prefaced with a very pragmatic statement.
Yeah. And so like how do you propose um, going about ending taxation? Like is that's a kind of a is that on a like a progressive timeline or yeah,
I've said
if
the
you want to go into
timeline
that.
is I have given the timeline as 1,000 years for an idea like this to be fully implemented. Because think of it, we've had this system in place of there's the king, you got to give a cut of your money to the king, otherwise he kills you. We've been doing that for thousands of years. So if we've been doing that since the beginning of Western civilization, then guess what? It's not going to change overnight. It's a 1,000-year idea. So I'm a believer in incrementalism and as being as pragmatic as possible. So for example, my best idea, let's say you have your property taxes. How about next year they are cut by 10%, but then you have the choice of that cut amount where it goes. So 90% of property taxes are normal. That extra 10 that's kind of sliced off to the side, you choose where it goes. And I can't imagine that if you tried this experiment, that people would be upset. I mean, what would be the argument against letting people choose where 10% of their money goes? Let's say there's 5 buckets of different things that are not necessarily essential, and you can choose that last 10% where it goes. I've always felt like that would be a great introduction. It would get people asking questions. Why only 10%? Why only these programs? So that would be my question to you guys, which would be, does that seem like a reasonable first step? Is there an objection from the audience that we can think about that if you allowed a little bit of voluntary choice in regards to involuntarily collected taxation? I feel like that's the best way to get from here to there.
Yeah, my only issue is what about okay, so like right now taxes are collected because there's a gun in your face, and if you don't pay those taxes, you're going to get hurt. Uh, what is it about this system that would make that gun go away, even with just that 10%?
Oh, well, anything until 1,000 years from now, it's very unlikely that there isn't going to be a gun in your face in some way, shape, or form. That is the dream for a future generation to try to figure out. What I'm just saying now is yes, there would definitely still be a gun, and yes, you'd still have to give 100%. But if we introduce these small voluntary choices, we might find that it's very popular. And that is how ideas spread, is through experimentation and then results.
Okay, and so would you say you want to start that on a local level, or is this, you want to go national with it
I
first?
think you have to go as local as possible if you want to try experiments like this. I mean, the labyrinth of federal spending is unbelievable. And so I do have many apolitical views, but I do have one political view or of opinion about government, and that is that government should be as local as possible. So that would be something else that we would need to take a look at in regards to political structure, which is a lot of things are being done by the federal government that I don't understand why the states aren't doing. And a lot of things are being done by the state that I don't understand why the counties and cities aren't doing. And frankly, the cities, why are the neighborhoods not taking care of their own neighborhood? Why do we even need the city handling a lot of what it does for a neighborhood? So that's sort of that localism is a huge thing for me. And I think if you try to pitch an idea like this federally, it's impossible. You might as well be talking about unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah.
If you want to get to federal, you got to prove that it works at cities and counties and states before they'll ever consider changing the current system up there.
It seems to me that the idea of working as locally as possible, that seems like it should, um, like both sides should like that, right? Because like the right wingers are, I mean, maybe not as much anymore, but like a true conservative will say that you want to localize, government as much as possible, right? And kind of have like a fractured uh, responsibility, right? Um, or instead of a strong central government. And then like on the left, you'd think that they would be enthusiastic about community organizing and getting to know your community and working within that framework. Uh, so yeah, it does seem like be that would be something that both sides would get on board with.
Yeah, I love the way you're looking at that, because that's pretty much how I've tried to frame this whole movement. The idea is that I believe you can get both sides of any political spectrum on board with the general tenets of more choice of what you do with your dollars, because both sides can tell you that there's stuff they don't support, and a lot of people have things that they want done in their community, much like you're saying. Even people who might be very left wing or very right wing, they want certain things done, and that's a bipartisan idea, which is that we want things done. Locally is the best way to do them. The only group that I ever get in disputes with, authoritarian collectivists. And an authoritarian collectivist has no political philosophy. So I'm never worried about not garnering their support, because they are a dinosaur politically in the future. Authoritarian collectivists have no logic. If you even ask them to defend their position, all they're going to tell you is some kind of nonsense about a social contract that you didn't sign. Therefore, you need to give all your money to stuff you don't agree with. How in the hell is that an argument?
Yeah, my favorite thing to say to people like that is just to ask them, would you consider the 20th century a success? And no sane person would say yes. You know what I mean? Like it could be a success in like the effort of knowing what not to do, but it certainly wasn't a success as far as the well-being of humanity. And it was littered with authoritarianism.
I think that a lot of people like that, they just like dominating people, you know, forcing them to uh, bow to their will, and you can't talk to them like about crowdfunded government or anarchy or, you just can't reason with people like that.
No, it's a very close-minded political philosophy, which again, it's not even a political philosophy. It's a very close-minded view of human enslavement. So that's the only, in terms of, trying to appeal to people with different opinions, left, right, this and that. Yeah, I think I can do that. It's just anybody who believes that it's good for you to put a gun in my face and do what you want with my money, we got nowhere to go. That's unfortunately a fundamental disagreement that I cannot convince you otherwise. So if I'm trying to appeal to localism, it's pretty bipartisan. I can get most of both sides in on the idea that locally you should be choosing what you do with your money. That is the majority, I believe, and obviously we can have a discussion about with democracy, blah, 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 but you can get, I believe, a majority of people to agree that they want more local control of their money to do what they want, and they don't want to be told how much to pay or what to pay for. They can figure it out on their own. They're big boys and girls.
Yeah. I mean, except for you have some people that do want to be told, There's that percentage of the population that like they want direction, right?
Yeah, and they are very interested in authoritarian collectivist solutions, which is, could somebody please tell me, but more importantly, could somebody please tell my neighbor what to do? Because I don't think they're going to make a very good decision, and I know I can't make very good decisions. I mean, it's insane to even try to argue this. I don't even know who makes these arguments.
I think largely it's just government schooling.
Mm-hmm.
People are infantilized, and more decisions just in their entire lifetime are exported to a higher authority, that being the government, and they just don't know any different.
Yeah, and I was one of them, by the way. It's not like I've had this crazy idea since I was born. I mean, I came through public education, and I believed that you tax the rich to pay for all the stuff. I mean, I believed that at one point. So I guess I can understand where people are coming from, but it's like, wow, man. Once your eyes are open to this, once you take the red pill, it's like, how can you ever, I can't even remember how I was defending those ideas.
Yeah.
I was just defending them because that's what I was taught pretty much.
Yeah, and then you learn economics.
Yeah, that was actually a very good start. My microeconomics class was one of the ideas that really made me consider that everything that we do in life is a market decision, and there's prices, demand for everything. And when you apply that to government, all of a sudden the rules of economics go out the window with government for
Yeah.
some reason, and it's unbelievable
Mhm.
to me that just because something is big and just because something is trying to accomplish complicated problems, oh well, forget about accounting for it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I think
right.
I think most people believe that the economy is created by the government. It's like a
Yes.
man-made thing that does not exist independently from, that small collection of people in Washington.
Yeah, and that's actually what's really scary right now is we went through a time over the past few months where the government stepped in and paid everybody's paychecks, all the companies are being paid to keep people on their payrolls, unemployment got extra money, and the Federal Reserve is doing all sorts of financial maneuvers to support corporations. And it's very scary because the lesson to be learned from the corona response is don't worry about the government will help
You're
you if you're ever in trouble. And that is not a good pathway to a prosperous future.
No, I completely agree. And the crazy part about the stimulus bill that got passed is that people don't understand that it was just a massive wealth transfer. Everyone wants to tax the rich and give that money to the poor, but that stimulus bill was the exact opposite. It was taking uh, the value of your money and it just drastically devalues that, and who profits from that? It's the people that uh, are the first to get the quantitative easing money.
Hey everybody, uh, technical difficulties. We have migrated from Discord to Zoom, Chinese-owned malware Zoom. Uh, I currently have in front of me Liberty Zero's home address and social security number. Uh, if you would like any of that information, DM me on Twitter and I will sell it to you for a very modest price. Um, so uh, we have with us crowdfunded government, and we're hanging out, having a good time, talking about everything under the sun.
Hey, glad to be back. Holy smokes, man! I was expecting a lot out of that Discord thing, man. They are really falling out. I see why Zoom is such a big deal. It works.
Yeah, it does work. And I mean, there are other things that work too. Here's the thing, Zencaster, like I hear people love Zencaster. And I know I think Friends Against Government is using Zencaster now. I have never been
That's
able to get it to work.
that's an endorsement if I've ever heard one.
I can't get it to work though. Like it was me, um, Bullshido, Trent from Trent Must Talk, and Ghost from Anarchy Proper. We all joined a Zencaster thing just as a test. We weren't recording anything, and it was so weird. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the show before. Like
Didn't
one
we try
person.
that with?
We
Yeah,
tried it with
didn't we try that with
Pause.
pause? Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, I mean, he can attest to it's just not working. It's really weird. But I mean,
Hmm.
there's some people that love it, and like it technically it's free, but there may be some shenanigans going on. It's like, well, if you don't pay the monthly fee, of course it's not going to work right.
But
Man,
everything is free.
yeah,
You
I'm like,
gotta
what?
pay.
I can't even a paid service, you know?
man. So my computer quit out. What it was, I was still in Austin for Childerberg. Uh, I was working on my computer, and then I went out to dinner with my buddy, and then I came back and my computer wouldn't turn on. And so when I got back home, I took it to a shop, and they said that the cord connecting the motherboard and the internal hard drive had died. And for whatever reason, in replacing that cord, they had to wipe my computer. Not only,
Oh.
yeah, so not only with that did I lose all of my Bitcoin, Uh,
Ooh.
part of that is my fault. I know I have my seed phrases somewhere, so one day I'm going to find them and I'm going to have a payday. But right now I
Okay, Peter
cannot.
Schiff.
Yeah, exactly. But right now I cannot access my Bitcoin. The other thing is, damn, what was I about to say?
I don't know, but the idea of just locking your Bitcoin away for like 40 years is a really good idea.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. People, and you're going to do it accidentally, and then you're going
Yeah.
to wake up and you're going to have like up to $1 million in your account when you're like 50. I don't know. It'd be cool. Or whatever, when you're 100, whatever. Do the math.
Mm. I'm like, yeah, I can pay for like 2 years of a nursing home.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, by then, however much Bitcoin I have is gonna be worth $10.
I think if the Bitcoin predictions are correct, it's going to be the opposite because it's deflationary.
Yeah, that's
It-
right.
It will increase in value unless everybody agrees to fork off in something that is inflationary.
Yeah,
So
I have
you
no
could-
worries about Bitcoin. I have worries about certain industries being, monopolized and or like regulated to death. Does that make sense?
Wait, but how? What do you? What is that? In relation to Bitcoin?
No, no. So my comment about like having your Bitcoin pay for 2 years of a nursing home, like that was
Oh,
a comment about like
so
how
you mean like
healthcare costs.
I'm gonna have to go to the McDonald's nursing home or the Burger King nursing home, and those are the only two.
I thought you were saying that there weren't even going to be nursing homes, that we were just going to turn all the old people into Soylent Green at one point.
Well, actually, that's more likely at that point. But
We're gonna kill them.
I got the answer. No more long-term care costs, and I have the solution. That is not an official crowdfunded government policy.
I was going to say with crowdfunded government,
we put an asterisk out there. Just a joke.
I was going to say crowdfunded Soylent Green.
Oh boy, diabolical right there. Diabolical.
That's right. Okay, so let's continue with what we were talking about. I think Liberty Zero, you would be best to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, totally. So with crowdfunding government, why do you want to turn old people into Soylent Green? No,
that's a good question.
Too expensive, man.
Answer the question.
So, like right before we ended, I was talking about blockchain technology and how it allows everyone to check kind of the ledger, and I feel like that could be a way to keep everything. Well, I mean, it keeps everything public, and so do you think that that's a good way to basically, if not eliminate, I mean, I don't think you can eliminate corruption, but like, do you think that would drastically cut down on corruption? If
you just asked the one question that depresses me.
Oh.
Because if I would have called this because I had the idea maybe a decade or maybe I don't know 6 or 7 years ago, but I put it into play in 2016. If I would have called this blockchain government, you guys wouldn't be talking to me right now. I'd be on Fox News.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
this idea is a blockchain structure. Basically, you're voluntarily giving money. We need to track that those dollars are actually going to the program, because like you're saying, there's so much corruption in government. You're just going to let this all this money supposedly being voluntarily given going to the right places? No, I would want a blockchain or equivalent basically saying, here is the genesis of the money, here's the path that it took, here's where it ended up, and that's all public. So I didn't think of it in 2016, but had I called it blockchain government, it would already be in place. We'd already be doing it, man. Everybody would have already agreed in 2017. Yeah, great idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So man, did I blow it. But yeah, that is my greatest regret, is I called it something that at the time, right? Crowdfunding was still a big deal. You know, it was like a meme. It was just Merriam-Webster just added it to the dictionary a few years before. It was very cool. So blockchain is the answer for keeping government accountable, for sure.
Yeah, and I can only imagine, you're just looking at how a government spends its money, and you realize that, I mean, I'm not totally sure what the percentage is, but just it's probably some obscene percentage just goes to paying bureaucrats and, maintaining buildings and buying the artwork for said
Yeah.
buildings,
Yeah, and that's why the idea of voluntarily paying for what you get is only part of the equation. The other part of the equation is fully transparent government budgets. For each government program, give me material, labor, assets, and equipment. If private industry can accomplish this and nonprofit organizations can accomplish this, why is it impossible for the government to itemize what the hell they're spending their money on? Any other organization knows down to the penny what they're spending on everything. And if it's available to the shareholders or to the management, right, depending on what type of organization it is. But it is certainly not, it is unacceptable to me that government can spend money on all this stuff, and it just happens under the cover of night in these, $1.5 trillion bills, and at the state level, billions and billions. You don't know where it goes. So tracking where the money goes, exactly what the budgets are, put them in writing, itemize them. I'm big on that. I think that's a great first step as well, which is trying to declutter, unmask the hidden functions that government is doing that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, and the thing is that once you have people basically deciding where their money is going, like they're going to be looking at that stuff. They have an incentive to actually check out what exactly. Okay, I'm going to fund the police. Oh, why are they buying an MRAP?
Yeah, this whole defund the police is a great jumping point for the idea of the crowdfunded government, because you would have different police departments do different things, right? They have, your drug task force. They got your normal traffic cops. They got your walking around beat cops. They got all these detective work. They have all these different things that some you might disagree with some of the things. And then they're buying military equipment and SWAT teams and stuff like that. So people should have the choice. Like they should say, well, I support these things for public security, but I think these other things are ridiculous. I don't want them buying a tank. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not paying to the tank fund. Stuff like that. Break it down. Don't just if you can, you got like a Detroit threat management figured out, great. Throw the whole police department out. That's fine. But if you don't, at least in the meantime, start to trim the fat. Choose these programs that people are disgusted by. Oh, anybody happy when they see a tank rolling down the street and seeing these videos? Does anybody like that?
Oh, I'm sure there's some right-wingers who get a boner.
Hey, fine. Guess what? Crowdfunded government, spend as much of your money as you want on the tank program. Don't take mine. That's fine.
There you go. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the different areas of the country and how, their priorities are going to differ. And you'll see what they, what they're going to be spending their money on.
Yeah, we can get to the Alexander de Tocqueville dream that these were laboratories of democracy. They were 13 countries, 50 countries. That was the whole idea, that we were these republics that agreed to share on common issues, not a top-down. It was never a top-down one government system. That's fundamentally not what we tried to create at all. So you can imagine you'd have some states and some cities doing radical experiments, and if they work, spread them. If they don't, ditch them. That's the kind of flexibility that a crowdfunded government would offer.
It occurred, and Cotton, I'm going to let you ask a question after this, but it occurs to me that with this system, if it takes off, you'd see like mass migration from areas that are doing a poor job to cities or states that are doing this and really kicking up the quality of life, and and just doing a fantastic job, or well, government, but doing a better job than
Yeah, I love the idea of you have two states or two cities or two counties, and they're both doing radically different things, and people would move between them. I mean, it's very important that people have the choice to live in the society that they want. And right now in America, there's so little differences between cities and states. It's basically and there's like one or
yeah,
two laws that are different in each city or each state. It's like, what's the difference?
and they all have to deal with the federal government.
Exactly. That's the unifying problem that I see is there's so much of a drive at state governments to make everything uniform with the way that the federal codes and federal statutes, federal regulations are working. And when in history has that ever worked? When has that ever been a good idea? Hey, everybody, let's all do the same thing. Don't experiment. Don't try anything radical. When is that ever a good idea?
Exactly.
Sorry, Cotton, I've stolen the microphone for like an hour here.
No, it's fine. Damn, man, I had a great question, and it just went away. I completely forgot.
I'll tell you what, I'm noticing a difference. I am noticing that the people with energy drinks right now are fired up.
That's right, yeah.
And you are just chilling, bro.
Man, I'm chilling.
That's cool.
That 7% alcohol New Belgium's kicking in.
Hey, man.
Well, Cotton, while you think of your question, I have another one. Yeah, Theodore, what do you say to the people that would object and say that you have a free rider problem in a voluntary crowdfunded government?
Oh man, the tragedy of the commons, Theodore. Didn't you learn about that? And yes, I did. I was a major in public policy at a well-respected university. So yeah, I am well aware of the tragedy of the commons. And the idea that if somebody doesn't want to pay for something, but they want to use the services, why should I force somebody who can't afford it to pay that? Basically, I see it as a very evil idea that you must pay to play. So with this crowdfunded government idea, I'm a believer that there should be no stamps. So for example, if you want a fire service, you have to pay your local fire department, $100 a year or whatever. And if you don't pay that, well, it's your house gets to burn down because you didn't pay the fee. So the way that I see the free rider problem dealing with itself is basically you have, the firehouse is a great example. Each year, you only have so many people that are paying into it. Let's say 50% of people are actually paying into it a reasonable amount. The other 50% of people are not. Well, a year goes by, and you get a chance to see how well it's working. And if people are happy with the way that it's working, I don't see a reason why this is a problem, that half the people want to pay for it and half the people don't, and 100% of people are satisfied with the services. Why is it a problem? Like, why is there a need for fairness in stealing other people's money? I've never seen that as fair or a problem of equity, that somehow just because I haven't paid because I can't afford it doesn't mean that I deserve to have the rights or expectations that that we have in society. I feel it's immoral to make that argument to somebody. So free rider, I don't care. The most important part of crowdfunded government is that you have the right to give $0 to every government program. And if there's no punishment for doing that, you do what you want. Do what you think is right with your money. But I'm a believer in the market system. I'm a believer that if enough people don't contribute to the fire department and there's a few major fires and they do a terrible job because they don't have the resources, I believe that the free market of ideas in people's wallets will lead to them giving more money in the next budget cycle.
Okay. I have my question, and it's a very.
This better be good.
It's very it's very pessimistic. So let's say that this is instituted, right, and everybody gets just how I'm formulating it. People get a census type form where they can pick where their money goes, right? and say, and in a system like that, naturally there would be people that are put in difficult situations. Like there are people that can't find work or don't want to work, and they get no state aid in those times of hardship. And of course the media would focus on those. So then what if the crowd-funded government were put into place? What if there was a shift in opinion and more than 50% of people wanted to go back to the old way of extortionary tax collection?
That's fine. I'll bet you it doesn't happen. I don't know anybody who is like, I mean, okay, I know some people on Twitter, I don't know if they're real people who are happy about taxes and like how taxes work, but in the real world, I never meet these people who are like jazzed up about how the current system works. Everybody's got complaints, and that's how it is, man. That would, simply put, that's how it is. If people don't like the system, then go back to having a gun in your face. I just feel like every time you give people a chance to be more free, in general, I think they're going to take it and they're going to enjoy it and they're going to spread it. I mean, they're going to be happy about it. I mean, I'm imagining just at a basic level, you have one county doing some form of crowdfunding government. The county next to it is not. Is it really possible that the county that's not is going to tell its people, hey, you guys are stupid. You guys don't know what to do with your money. Like they over there, like they're smarter than you guys. You guys can't figure this out. I feel like it's contagious to try this idea, because it basically says you guys are capable of making intelligent, informed decisions. And I believe that to be the case. I don't believe that for some reason there would be this area of people who are like, no, we like being stupid and in the dark about what government's doing with our money.
Fair enough.
So
and then
they over
you know, you're gonna be in like a coercive county where they're still doing the arcane system we have now, and then you're gonna move into a you're just driving along, and then you drive into a free county and the road gets a lot better.
That's right. That's what I believe. I believe that. I think if you drive on the roads in Chicago, you can find out for yourself. The system does not work, everybody.
Come to Louisiana, dude. We have some of the worst roads. Like,
really,
I mean,
you guys don't have the freeze thaw though. Why is that?
Oh man,
this is a throwback to episode 1.
Wow,
dude. When you're driving in Louisiana, it's like you're driving in Fallujah. I mean, it is bad. And like when I went to Childerberg, I cross over the Texas border. And you know, you don't even have to see any signs. You know, you're outside of Louisiana because the road gets a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, those Texas roads were nice.
Speaking of Childerberg,
I listened to your guys' Childerberg episode. It was really great to hear, like, all the people that you guys were mentioning. It was so cool because obviously I have memories from last year with a lot of them. I could not attend, and I'm very sorry. I really wish I could have been there because, God, I loved hearing the sequence of events. You know, we showed up, then Maddie K shows up, and I'm remembering Maddie K, and I was like, oh my God, that's great. You know, and then Carr shows up, remembering Carr, and oh man, I loved that. God, that was good. It was a good episode.
Yeah, Derek was saying that was our best episode so far.
Well, we were in the same room as one another too.
I think that made a difference, definitely, because there's like a delay and like you don't have the chemistry over the video call. But man, when you're there with somebody, you guys were snapping back and forth on the cool stories, cool memories. Gosh, I am upset that I didn't go. But boy, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say there was a lot of chemistry in the room.
Yep. Let's just say that there was not so I was on like the left side of the couch, right, on Liberty Zero's couch, and he was pretty close to me. All right, he was sitting on the couch and he was scooching over a little bit, and I felt pretty uncomfortable, and I mean I felt like I was in a Joe Biden type situation, and I'm contacting my lawyer.
He pushed. I put my hand on his knee and he pushed it away. It was
Oh my God. Oh man, I would be a fly on the wall in that room. Oh man, I'd pay for that. There's a reason why I'm very disappointed that I couldn't go to Childerberg, because I was made out to be an important figure last year, and I'm wondering which person took my crown from me this year.
Oh,
I am the big, according to people, and we'll discuss what I think about this. I was the biggest statist at Childerberg.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
were
That
there
was
any
so-
statists at Childerberg this year?
I know Stateless Cook said he never read any Rothbard.
Whoa, how could he even, dude, why would you even say that?
Shots fired.
Like, if you're just trying to start a fight, yeah, you know, the guy who has all those ideas, I don't know, man. No, I get it, man. I've only read the quotes, man. It's true. I've only read the quotes and like some snippets. I'm not well educated on all facets of anarcho thought, or economic thought for that matter. So the biggest statist, because I have government in my name, right?
Yeah.
Well, am I really arguing for government, gentlemen? Am I really saying that government is good? Or does it appear that I'm making sort of a sort of parallel argument, or I'm going down a different road?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I'm thinking, I agree with you. I do think you're going down a different road, but also consider that the people at Childerberg, due to the various substances being ingested, may not be able to make that leap.
Which is fine. So the joke last year was that there will be a ritual sacrifice of a statist at every Childerberg.
No.
And
so that's why you didn't show up.
they fake like started to drag me to the lake for the sacrifice last year. And so I'm a little upset because, in my opinion, I might be the least statist person that attended Childerberg, and I'm ready to make that argument.
Please do.
Yeah, let's hear it.
If I were, and I'm not saying that I am, but if I were the most hardcore anarchist that you have ever met, wouldn't that be somebody who would come up with a formula and spend all day, every day pushing that formula to lead to a stateless society, which a crowdfunded government absolutely is the best route if you were trying to transition from here to there? Wouldn't the most hardcore anarchist that you've ever met do something like that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, most anarchists, we just love talking and taking a shit on people, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I certainly don't want to be insulting to anybody involved with either you guys or them, because obviously a lot of my friends, very cool people, but a lot of them are not doing much more than complaining. And I don't think they would argue against that. It's not a knock or an insult. That's just reality, that Twitter is a place where you go and you bitch and you spread, but you don't solve the world's problems. I'm trying to solve the world's problems, brothers,
Yeah.
I am out there with a system. Now, this system does involve government. Yes. Why? Because we have government. How do you, if I were to argue to everybody, hey, you know what? Government is terrible. Let's crowdfund everything with private organizations. That's unrealistic. That's stupid. I'm wasting my time. So I'm just putting an if I were the world's most hardcore anarchist, it would make sense that I would come up with a system that could easily transition out of the current system of statism that we have. And I think that would look something like a crowdfunded government.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm the only.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the only solutions that anarchists the only serious solutions, I guess, and I have my doubts on the viability of them, is basically where people talk about how they're gonna starve the state either through agorism or cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Agorism and cryptocurrency are great avenues to replace the state and to make the state obsolete. That's exactly right. So I guess those are the reasons why I think I interact very well with people, even if I'm not an expert on those topics, because they can kind of see the direction that an idea like mine could go. Ideas like those are naturally falling in that direction. So it makes sense to me. Agorists are definitely proposing a real solution to trying to reduce the influence of the state in their life. Agorists are people that I can really respect because they are actually doing something. They're taking steps in their life, in their family's life, and they're showing their community that here's how we can do things outside of the existing markets, the existing channels that we're forced to exist in. So I really respect it. Obviously, I'm pretty neutral when it comes to, is it a good idea or a bad idea? Doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that people are free to make their own decisions in regards to what they do with their money. And I don't consider myself statist as a result. I maybe statist light, because I don't believe in destroying everything overnight, but I allow for two alternatives 1,000 years from now. Either everything the government does is private and it's all run by crowd-funded budgets, hey, or everything is the same and it's just all voluntary. I don't care. Just as long as it's voluntarily paid for, I don't care what the ending organization looks like.
I just want to throw a little shade real quick. Is it just me, or to y'all do quite a lot of agorists seem like it's a religion of some sort? You know what I mean? I mean, it's odd. Like some of these agorists, like I think that there are quite a bit of, I mean, I'm not against the system or the process of agorism and starving the state, but you know, there's some real contentions you can have. And if you ever mention them to a diehard Konkin reading agorist, you know, like you just blasphemed, you know, and it's odd. It's very odd to me.
Yeah. I would also say, though, you could put me in the same camp, that sometimes I'm so evangelical or fundamental about my ideas that I do sort of dismiss, you know, whenever people are trying to like really beat up. I'm kind of like, at this point, my opinion is made up. If in the past 4 years, nobody has even mentioned anything to me where I'm like, oh wow, this might be a bad idea. Like every time somebody has an objection, I'm like, duh, think about it, talk about it, makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm just as guilty as the religion of Agora. I certainly, I'll admit it before I throw some shade their way, that I am I have some of the similar issues, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I've noticed with myself. I used to argue with people a lot, and then I just got bored with it because generally I didn't consider their arguments to be, you know, I don't know, good, I guess. And so, you know, like the past couple of years, I haven't really bothered with it. And, you know, now if I do have a conversation, like I haven't thought about this for a while, and I'm like, let's see here. and you know, I'm slow to respond just because I'm lazy about it, you know?
Yeah, I don't, like my old roommate was like he would every now and again, whenever Trump would offer a new hat, if you donated $50 to his campaign, he'd always do it so he could collect all the different Make America Great Again hats. And we would get in arguments, and eventually I'm like, this is just a waste of time. You know what I mean? And in hindsight, I'm not incredibly sure it is, because like at the very least I was getting exercise, like mental exercise doing it. But you know, like it was infuriating. Like it definitely made me want to take some blood pressure medication. You know what I mean?
Well, there's one thing I'd like you to consider, Zero, about that idea, is that when you converted, because I guess I'm just assuming that you were never always a believer in, you know, full-on libertarianism, anarchism, right? There was some point where you were kind of mixed. Because I'm thinking about my own journey, that people told me some of these ideas, and I just rejected them. And eventually, thinking about it on my own, it helped that these people had pushed back, because then they gave me something to think about. But ultimately, the only change happened when I decided that I was ready. And no amount of arguing with me would have led to that, because I was so hard-headed as like a undergraduate of public policy. I understand how taxes work, and I understand how all this works, and this works my way because I'm an elite liberal university educated, right? So I kind of understand that if you keep arguing with somebody, it's not going to lead anywhere. The best thing you can do is just plant the seeds, you know? Give an objection, they give you an objection, and just at some point, there's no need to go back and forth. Either you're going to eventually agree with them, they're going to eventually agree with you, you're both going to die disagreeing. I don't know. But nobody will ever believe in liberty by force. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it would defeat the whole purpose, right? Somebody coerced you into believing in liberty. So there's something to be said. I don't think you should be upset that occasionally you don't want to go toe-to-toe on Twitter or, God forbid, real life with somebody about freedom and anarchy and libertarianism and all these different things that are great to talk about, because some people aren't ready yet. And they will let you know when they're ready. Hey, what was that thing you were talking about, how we really don't need that many taxes? Like, maybe I agree with you, but the military, we still need taxes, right? I mean, at least you can get people, like, you feed the idea and you see one day if the seed grows.
Well, yeah. And I mean, that's something that I've seen. I have 4 people that are close to me that I haven't gotten them to embrace anarchy or anything, and I think only one of them calls themselves a libertarian, but like I've moved all 4 of them like way further, or like towards liberty than they were before, and before they were more like, well, 3 of them were on the right, conservative types, and then one's on the left, and but you just you have that conversation, and sometimes they're going to get a little bit heated because you're proposing these radical ideas, but you're just patient, and you have that conversation in good faith, and you're not about winning the argument so much as answering their questions and all.
I have a great story about that, by the way. So a friend of mine who we moved to a different city, so we kind of fell apart. He was just kind of talking to me one day about this crowdfunded thing when it started out a few years ago, and I was just shooting with him. Here's this, here's that. He's like, "Oh my God, that's really stupid, man. You really shouldn't spend any time on that." And I'm like, "Hey, listen, brother. I thought it was stupid 10 years ago too, because my college roommate had mentioned sort of a similar idea." And I'm like, "Hey, listen, okay, I tell you, it's stupid, fine." And a year ago, he reached out to me. He's like, "Dude, I was thinking about that thing. I listened to one of those podcasts. You're onto something." And so I'm cool with that. The fact that I'm perfectly fine that he mocked me, told me it sounded stupid, and then just spun the wheel. The wheel just spun for like a couple years, right? He was just thinking to himself, "Man, Theodore's stupid. Man, Theodore's stupid. I'm going to listen to one of those stupid things, And it turns out it was not like a firm rejection. Like, you have some very good points, things that, obviously still apart, but it never requires too much debating. And honestly, I think half of the people on Twitter who are starting the arguments with the liberty community are trolls, 100%.
Yeah, or they're like we mentioned earlier, they're the left-wing authoritarians.
Well, see, I don't believe there's that many, though. Sometimes I'm sure that there are these accounts, and I know that there's a couple, but they're really obvious. But I mean, it's like you'll see just these ridiculous statements, and then one of the influential members will quote tweet them, and they'll get ratioed like 1,000 to like 10, right? Well, that is, in my opinion, sometimes it's counterproductive to have these big arguments, because we just need to plant the seeds. I don't know. And that's why I think some of these people are fake, because their arguments are so bad. It's like they're trying to stir up controversy, because there's not enough people who are really arguing against liberty.
Do you know who Kyle Wagner is?
Rings a bell, but not off the top of my head.
So he's a pretty famous minarchist, especially if you're on Facebook, and that's where I got started with
Boomer
libertarian. Sorry, but that's where I got started with like conversations with libertarians. And so he's this pretty famous minarchist. He admins this anarchist or anarcho-capitalist versus minarchist debate group, and that guy has the stupidest arguments for minarchy out there, and like they're so stupid that I almost wonder if he's a secret anarchist,
Yeah, it might be an op.
Oh, wow! It's actually somebody arguing for, but then in a like a humorously bad way.
Yeah,
That's
like
just kind of satire, you know?
Yeah. Wow. But it's like satire squared though. Like he's like, because usually
Yeah.
you would satirize the opponent's position. You know, you would pretend to have the bad argument so you can beat up on the paper bag argument. But that's like flipping the script. Like I'm going to intentionally make bad arguments so that you can quote unquote beat me and then stay in the debate.
yeah, and he's basically you know, I started out agreeing with him just because I didn't know anything, and then like his arguments were just so bad when he's arguing with these anarchists that that's one of the things that pushed me, you know, into
Well, they say it takes about 6 months. You know.
yeah, and that's about what it took for me.
Well, all right, fellas. Let's go ahead and wrap up the main episode and then carry on to the Patreon show.
I hope you enjoyed it, Pores.
Yeah, exactly. Theodore, why don't you go ahead and give your plugs?
Cotton Zero, thank you so much for having me. My name is Theodore Quinoa, Executive Director, Crowdfunded Government. You can find me on Twitter at CrowdFundedGov, and you can find the website at crowdfundedgovernment.com. And I love to mix it up. I've been taking it easy recently on Twitter just because it's like a really sensitive time to get in arguments and stuff. So I've been taking it a little easy. However, I'm always happy to jump in. So find your stupid statist uncle, bring him to me, have him tweet me that crowdfunded government is stupid and it'll never work because nobody will pay anything and blah, blah, blah. Let's have the fireworks fly. I love the debate. Love to have it happen. Find me on Twitter at crowdfundedgov.
Awesome, man. And you can find me at Cottonarchist on Twitter. Recently passed Liberty Zero in followers, so I'm riding pretty high.
Oh.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Having a good time, living life.
You
Go ahead. Go ahead. Say
no,
what
I
you're
mean, what am I gonna say? You know,
I mean, just be better.
you gotta know. You gotta know when you've been beat. So
you can find the show's Twitter at dissecting LIBY, dissecting Libby. That's the best thing I could get. And go ahead, Liberty Zero. Go ahead and plug your poor, sorry ass Twitter account.
yes, you can find me tweeting some memes, and that's about it. At Liberty Zero with a 0 instead of an O at the end. Yeah. And before we sign off, we just want to shout out Ghost of Rebellion for the new intro and outro music.
Yeah. Ghost of Rebellion of Anarchy Proper.
That's right.
A+ dude.
So this is Liberty Zero reminding you to zero your rifle.
And this is Cottonarchist reminding you to pick cotton voluntarily. Please and thank you.